would you rather be right now than in beautiful Cape Town? Not the worst backdrop ever, Sthalekar.
No, I think it's probably one of our best, to be honest. I mean, you can't go past Table Mountain, can you?
No, you can't. You literally can't. It's everywhere. You see it from everywhere in Cape Town. You definitely can't go past it without seeing it. And it's also, of course, the venue for the semi-finals. We are here at the pointy end of the tournament. I don't know why no one ever calls it the blunt end of the tournament when you do the other games. We should bring that in. The pointy end it is. We have our semi-finalists first up on Thursday. We see Australia and India, a rematch, of course, of the 2020 T20 World Cup final and also the Commonwealth Games final. Big competition between these two. And following that, we then see England take on South Africa, who managed to get there with a big win over Bangladesh in the final game of the blunt stage of the tournament. We kind of knew we were heading to this semi-final, didn't we?
We did. As soon as the fact that England beat India, we started to predict this semi-final clash. And India is one side that actually performs really well against Australia. Out of the 4 times that Australia has lost in a period of time, 3 of them have been at the hands of India. So they are a side that seem to just rise a little bit when they play the Aussies.
Only team to beat them last year. Did take a super over though. Did take a super over. And look, they've performed well, India, obviously, during this tournament. Had that stumble against England, who looked very strong. What do they need to do to beat Australia? It's a question everyone asks before going into a tournament. How does anyone beat Australia, but India specifically?
Yeah, I think for now in this tournament, they need a few more runs out of a couple of players. So it can't be just Smriti Mandhana. Shafali Verma in the past has been really good, especially against Megan Shute, but she seems a little bit off this tournament. Same with Harmanpreet Kaur. So they need to find their top 5, and then you have Richa Ghosh at the end just to put the icing on the cake, need to fire. And really it's the bowling department that I'm probably more worried about for India, in the fact that their spinners haven't been able to pick up wickets. Rajeshwari Gaikwad actually hasn't picked up any wickets this tournament. So I actually think they maybe need to think of an alternative.
Oh, who are you bringing in, Selector Lisa?
Well, I actually think you've got to almost throw something completely different to the Aussies that they're not expecting. And I think Anjali, the left arm seamer, might be the key.
That is a bold choice. What is it about her that you think could cause Australia problems?
Well, you look at how Renika Singh Thakur and how she swings the ball back in. I think she's picked up Elisa Healy 4 times out of 33 deliveries. So why not shape the ball back in and really tuck up all the right-handers? Question mark about her death bowling, but I mean, they've got to try something different, because at the moment I don't think they're playing their best cricket. So they've got to go to another level, and just a surprise factor might be the difference.
What about Australia? Is it just all business as usual for them? They've sort of stuck with a similar lineup. They haven't made a lot of changes throughout this tournament. They just go into this with so much experience in knockout games, and it gives them a real calmness, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the Australian side, they know how to win games of cricket. Even when, you look at the Commonwealth Games, even I think the first game they played against India, they were 3 or 4 down for not much, but their middle order fire, Grace Harris and I think Ash Gardner on that occasion, went big, 100-run partnership. So the Australians, their concern will be Elisa Healy coming back in, obviously with that quad strain. Fingers crossed she's raring to go, because she is a big game player, and these are big games, the semi-finals and finals, if Australia make it. But yeah, they all know their role. I'll be interested to see what the pitch is like. So these two sides actually haven't even played a game at Newlands. They only played that warm-up clash, and that pitch, because I was doing the scoring and the commentary, was a turner, and it didn't really give an indication on how both sides were going. So depending on the pitch will decide, maybe the deciding factor for the Australians, whether Jess Jonathan comes back in, or whether they keep going with an Annabelle Sutherland, maybe even a Heather Graham. And same on the flip side from India. Do they go with Shikha Pandey? Do they go with Devika Vedia? And then for me, I reckon you need to get Anjali in. So the pitch will play an important role to what the final 11 will be.
Of course, there is another semi-final. England absolutely rolled over Pakistan on their way in, highest score in the 200s in a T20 World Cup for the women, and I think the highest winning margin as well. So they are absolutely steaming in. South Africa, 10-wicket win against Bangladesh. So after their upset to start off with against Sri Lanka, also at Newlands, they seem to have regrouped a bit. How do you see that playing out? Because England just look really strong to me at the moment.
Yeah, England have gone to another level, and they've almost trying to find a new formula to beat the Australian side. So whoever's in their way, they just pass them with ease, and we saw that in their last encounter. Alice Capsey and Sophia Dunkley at the top. They would have been happy that Danny Wyatt scored some runs in the last game. Nat Siver's on fire. So they've really got a lot of strength, a lot of batting depth. And then their spinners are first class. I mean, you've got Sophie Eccleston, the number one spinner, Charlie Dean and Sarah Glenn that just, picks up wickets. Not a big turner as a leggy, but she bowls stump to stump and she has some good loop and she beats a lot of players in flight. So they're going well. Catherine Siver Brunt, there's probably a little bit of a question mark on her, but it's her last World Cup and, she's been really the lioness of that side for such a long period of time. You'd hate to see her not play in the semi-finals. Just relax, Catherine. Just enjoy it, okay? It's your last one. Don't put too much pressure on yourself.
Apparently she watches all our videos.
I'm sure she does. But for South Africa on the other side, they looked really nervous. I know it was a 10-wicket victory against Bangladesh, but, they're just too much in their heads. I hope that they get to the semi-final knowing full well that they're not the favourites. England are definitely the favourites by a long way, but they soak up the atmosphere because the crowd will be amazing. They'll be cheering them. Enjoy it, and you just never know.
Absolutely. I went out and sat in the stands for a while in their last game, and the atmosphere is absolutely brilliant at Newlands. Now, 4 semi-finalists. I'm going to do a whip around for each of the teams who you think is going to be key player to their success. Let's start with India.
I'm going to say Smriti Mandana again. She has to lead the way, and then hopefully that inspires the rest just to contribute.
Okay, what about for Australia?
I'm going to go Meg Lanning. She would have been disappointed the last game, only a single-digit score. She's looked good. I reckon a big innings is not that far away, so sorry, India.
Okay, and for who do you think is going to be a key player for England?
For England, who am I going to go with? There's a few. That's the thing. You could pick a few, and you're probably on the money. I'm going to go with Alice Capsey. I think she's played really well. She's a fearless cricketer, so she'll whack them. She whacks them hard.
Whack them. It's a technical term, that one. Whack them.
Yeah.
And who is key for the fortunes of South Africa?
I think Marizanne Kapp. She's bowled well, but hasn't batted well, hasn't looked at her best with the batting. So if she can get going, again, it's all about giving confidence to the people coming under you, really. And that's why I've gone, you look at the top order and you look at players. If they get off to a good start, then it just frees up everyone coming in next. So Marizanne Kapp, to have a big game, she's going to need it.
Well, she is going to need it if they're going to make it to the final on Sunday. Who's your pick for getting there?
I think Australia will beat India, and I think England will beat South Africa.
Wow, that's amazing. We think the same things.
Wow.
We've been hanging out too much. Well, we will be back after the first semi-final, of course. Such a huge game, and we'll have a bit more of a look at what lies ahead for England and South Africa. But make sure that you stay locked on, as I like to say, to Cricbuzz for all the coverage of the Women's T20 World Cup here in beautiful Cape Town.